Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have an amazing return guest. We have Shane Sterling from Raw Vegan Rising. He's a pretty long-term raw vegan and a very long-term vegan. And today we are answering your frequently asked questions about the raw vegan diet. We've both been doing it for a long time, and you guys have a lot of great questions. So we are going to cover absolutely everything. Stick around to the end and let's hop into it. Hey, Shane, how's it going?
Hello, Jillian. Thank you so much for having me on this video. I hope we can provide some exceptional value for the listeners today. And I highly recommend that everybody listening prepare to take notes, share this video with people you love. This is life-saving information, life-changing information, paradigm, mind-blowing information. This is literally the best in the world you're going to get. Long-term raw vegans. I've been vegan for 34 years. So we need to understand this information, and I hope it provides value for you today.
It will. And that reminds me, people always say when you come on, it's like a masterclass and they learn so much and they feel like it's like listening to the best preacher at a church. So it's going to be so good. So the first question I asked you guys, and I have some because I hear a lot of frequently asked things from my viewers, from all the awesome people I know. But the first question is, I'd love to hear the full story behind enzymes and why eating cooked food is bad. I think that's a good place to start. And that's a frequently asked question. People say, what are the enzymes? What's wrong with cooked food? Why should I go all raw?
Yeah, well, we're told that if we cook the food, the enzymes are destroyed, and people are like, well, does that matter? Do we need to worry about enzymes? However, enzymes are proteins found in all food, all of nature. What turns a little acorn into a mighty oak tree are enzymes. Enzymes are the driving force of every metabolic process in our body and every life force part of nature, growing plants and growing animals, all enzymes. So we don't want to go against nature. We want to align with nature. That brings us up to the highest potential of our human biology. One of the problems that we all face in today's world is that we're disconnected. We feel the disconnect, and it creates anxiety in our life, and it creates a sense of not belonging. And yet here we are on this sacred earth, ancient earth, so much ancient wisdom here in the plants and in the trees and in the rocks and in the minerals and in us. So by aligning with nature, we feel more of that sense of belonging, that sense of ancient wisdom that dwells within inside of us. Eating the fresh, raw, living foods is a way to align with the ancient wisdom that is here for us. And it's really a simple path. It's a spiritual path. It's an awakening path. And having the fresh, raw, living foods means we have everything that this divine wisdom intends for us, including the enzymes, just as they come in the fresh, raw, living foods. And so we have the entire planet filled with species, 180 million species of animals and plants and insects on this planet. Not one of them requires cooked food or even benefits from cooked food. Of all the mammals we share this planet with, none of them need to cook their food. Would they if they could? I don't know, but they certainly don't need to. And they don't thrive. They're not going to thrive at a higher level. And see, the animals have that connection. And we will have that connection too when we simply eat the fresh, raw, living foods. It's mind-blowing. It's life-changing. And really at the fundamental core, it's aligning. Now, what happens when we align with what God and the universe and Mother Nature intends for us? We have less anxiety. We have a better experience. We have a deeper sense of who we are
Mhm.
and what we're doing here on this planet and how we can contribute and how we can make this earth sing with our human gifts and the resonance that we have within our hearts and our souls. So eating raw vegan just helps us be more ourselves, helps us be the best version of humanity. It helps move the needle one step further on the scale of evolution.
Well
That's what it
said.
does.
Yeah, well
So
said.
why not eat the raw, fresh, living foods? Have the fresh enzymes. But also what's included is oxygen and hormones in the food that is also lost, volatile minerals that are lost, phytonutrients and phytochemicals that are easily lost and denatured with cooking. We don't understand what is lost when we cook the food. It's a better strategy to just eat fresh, raw, living foods. And look, you don't have to be perfect. Just do your best. Eat
Mm-hmm.
more fresh, raw,
Mm-hmm.
living foods. The question is, how much are you eating? 50%, 70%, 80%, 100%? Just have more in your diet. You'll feel it. You can feel the life force. You can feel the alignment. And the more raw food you eat, the better you will feel.
It's
That's
so
the
true.
truth.
It's so true. Some people who haven't done it might think like this sounds woo-woo or whatever, but it's so true. Everything you just said couldn't be more true, especially from my personal experience. And I say go by how you feel too. As somebody who's been raw for so long, if I have a cooked meal, I notice a big difference in how I feel, right? Like it's about listening to your body. And I've seen tests. I can't remember if it was out of Hippocrates or where it was out of, or if you know these tests, maybe we've talked about it before where they did studies and where they incorporated cooked food and then they noticed that inside the body the white blood cell count increased, like almost like it was treating it like a foreign invader or something. So I find that interesting, and again, like at the end of the day, I listen to how I feel, and I feel drastically better, drastically more spiritual, and everything you said, like on the raw foods.
Yeah, yeah. Cooked foods denature the proteins, and that causes a low-grade immune response in our body. That means our body is fighting the food. It's called digestive leukocytosis. And it's our body basically sending out white blood cells as an immune response to a foreign protein. Our body doesn't recognize the cooked food. And while we can tolerate that for a certain period of time in our life, in our 20s and 30s, hey, by the time we're
Mhm.
40 or 50 or 60, it catches up to us. And then we're not looking and feeling our best. It takes the kind of the sparkle out of our eyes. It takes the spring out of our step. We start to age, we get aches and pains, we don't look as vibrant, our skin becomes more porous and splotchy and not as even and lumpy and wrinkly and all this stuff. If you want to look great well into old age, the raw living foods create the lowest immune response in the body. So
Mhm.
cooking our food, they tell us that it increases certain nutrients, but it's so small in comparison to the detrimental effects on our body. Having a low-grade immune response all the time creates inflammation, it creates digestive problems, it creates weight gain, it creates autoimmune issues, it creates all of the hormone problems that we experience. So eczema, dermatitis, rashes, SIBO, gut problems, hormone like Hashimoto's, all of this. And you know what? None of that is sexy. None of that is cool. We don't
Mhm.
want any of that. So
No.
are we addicted to the food, or are we committed to being our best self? Are we committed to being amazing, feeling amazing, looking amazing, doing amazing things, being an inspiration for the earth and for humanity and doing our best? Or are we more committed to that comfort, to the addiction of the cooked food or the tradition of the cooked food? Because after all, we're tribes and we identify with our tribes kind of based on the food we're eating. So if you're
Mhm.
from like a culture that really is steeped in barbecue or cooked food or cooked meat, and then all of a sudden you're going to be the raw vegan in the family, well, hey, that could be such a drastically different path that it would be shocking to you and your loved ones. But that's really what we have to decide. Is it worth that? Or what are we committed to? And who are we committed to becoming in our life and on this planet? I say leave that old guard behind, leave the old status quo behind, envision a new life, a new version of yourself, and commit to that and
Mhm.
create high vitality, high health, high beauty, high regenerative quality in the face and the skin and the hair, the eyes, the soul, the aura, the consciousness. Raw vegan is a consciousness. And it's a higher octave consciousness because we're resonating with the ancient truth, the alignment of planet Earth and its perfection that's been here for billions of years. So it just kind of aligns us with that ancient truth. And all we got to do is commit to the raw foods instead of to the traditions of our family. And you know what else comes with traditions? Trauma, family lineage trauma. Do we
Mhm.
really want to be a bearer of the family lineage trauma, or do we want to break free from all that and reinvent ourselves right here and now and build this new plane as we're taking off? That's exciting. That's what we should be doing. That's what I'm committed to.
And you're committed. And for anybody who doesn't know, most people know because we bring it up a lot, but you are 51. And like I said when we got on this call, like you literally look younger every time I see you. We do regular calls, but it's working. And a lot of that is the raw foods, I think. Like it really does a lot, I
It
feel like.
absolutely is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on social media, Raw Vegan Rising, and people every day are telling me that it's not the diet, dude, it's your genetics. I can't tell you how many times I hear it, 1,000 times over. It has nothing to do with your food. It's only genetics. Nothing could be further from the truth. My sister, God bless her soul, one of my best friends in the whole world, is younger than me, but looks older than me. And my parents aren't vegan or plant-based, and they're struggling as they're aging. They're struggling with health problems. My dad
Mhm.
has a pacemaker. He's got heart disease. He's going to pass. He's going to go at any minute, and he's only 84. So that's a quality of life issue. Eating raw living foods gives us a quality of life that we can't replace. We can't get it any other way. So
Mhm.
where am I going to be in 30 years? I'm 51 right now. So in 30 years, am I going to have a pacemaker? Am I going to be dying of heart disease? Ready to die?
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. Not even close. I have been on my plant-based journey since 1990. I went vegan when I was 17. It was 1990. The cool thing about that was there was no vegan junk food in the store. No vegan cheese, no vegan meat products, no Beyond Burger, none of that BS. So for me to be vegan in 1990, I had to figure it out on my own. I had to eat whole food only. So, grains and
Mhm.
potatoes and starches and all of these things. But over the years, what I've learned is to have the real lasting health, we have to eat fresh, raw, living foods
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
juices. I recommend having a green juice like every day, 5 days a week at least is what I shoot for. A green juice, high level nutrition. So raw, fresh living foods plus that concentrated nutrient density in the juices, man, those antioxidants, the phytochemicals, the prebiotic fiber, the
Mhm.
hydration, all of that brings nutrients to the cells and the skin
Yeah.
and removes waste and makes us look and feel our best. It has nothing to do with genetics. If
Yeah,
if
I
you
agree.
stand
I
me
agree.
next,
For like
yeah,
the
if you
most
stand
part,
me next,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, when I stand next to guys my own age, generally, we look like we're from different generations. And it's because I've been on my plant-based journey for 34 years. I'm really committed to it. And I went vegan for the animals. I'm like an ethical vegan. I want to align with the earth wisdom, that higher spiritual octave, and move that needle one step further. I don't need to kill to eat. I don't need that death in my body. I'm a lifelong vegan. I will die vegan. That's the hill I'm willing to die on. And I don't need the animal protein or the DNA in my body. And that's an amazing thing. You want to get the animal DNA out of your body because then you reclaim your true sovereignty. Without the animal DNA, you are free. You are your own consciousness. As long as you have animal DNA, chicken DNA, and pig DNA from the slaughterhouses and those factory farms in your body, that's a defiling of your sacred temple. That's a defiling of your consciousness. We defile them and we defile ourselves in those acts. So we got to start there. Get that out of your body and then eat the fresh, raw living foods and then put those enzymes in your body. The enzymes bring phytochemicals and biophotons. The enzymes bring the biophotons into the mitochondria of the cell. That's light particles for those who don't know. Literally, the ancient wisdom from the sun coming into the fruit, and then the enzymes and the carbon atoms in the fruit comes into our cells. It's literally like the energy and the wisdom and the knowledge and the codes of the sun comes into our cells through fresh, raw, living foods. You can't get those codes from cooked food or especially from tortured
Yeah,
animals.
true, when you put it that way, and it reminds me too of the Kirlian photography. You've probably seen that, right? Where they put, like,
I love
living
that.
food, like an apple, next to, like, even a cooked piece of meat or, like, a cooked even tomato and stuff. I'll try put that on the screen right now, but it really puts things into perspective, and everything that you just said, I agree with 100%. And some people, a common thing I hear frequently asked question is, "Oh, I tried it. I tried eating all raw, and I felt really bloated." So, what are your thoughts on that? What do you have to say when somebody tries that and then they notice at first they're feeling bloated? Why do you think that is? And what can they do to stop that?
Yeah, this is a common question amongst many, many people out there who comment on my social media channel saying, well, you must have bad digestion. You must have gas. You must have bloating. You must have diarrhea from eating raw foods. No, that's the cooked food eaters who have weakened their digestive system from cooked meat, cooked starches, grains, and animal products who have poor bowel transit time, poor bowel musculature, a weak microbiome, poor hydrochloric acid, low hydrochloric acid. So when they do eat raw foods, they get diarrhea and gas and bloating. So what we have to do is we have to strengthen the digestive system like a warrior. Okay,
Hmm.
we got to get committed to getting strong. Just like going into the gym, when we first go into the gym, we feel weak. We know we're weak. We lift up the little dinky weight and it feels heavy. Well, the same with our gut. When we start eating raw food, it feels hard because we're not strong. So if you're eating cooked foods and starches and grains and animal products and eggs, these types of foods create very poor digestive health. And so when you eat raw foods, you're going to struggle. The first step is to just go plant-based. The second step is to strengthen the digestive system over time, building up more raw foods. And then at some point, you might want to do a full microbiome reset. I'm a juice fast coach. I have been for many years. I teach people how to empty the GI tract of all the old waste and biofilm and plaque that can be harboring bacteria and fungus and mold and yeast and parasites.
Hmm.
So then we might want to do that where we cleanse the bowels, because that's a huge reset for the gut microbiome. And then we can break the juice fast with 100% raw living foods and spend like a year. I always recommend a year or even two, rebuilding your gut and refeeding your body with 100% raw vegan diet. Now, I'm going to tell you, for those listening, if you want the most amazing, mind-blowing, mind-expanding experience of your life, do a 40-day juice fast, break the
Hmm.
fast with 100% raw vegan diet, and stay raw vegan for 1 year. It will absolutely change your life. It'll revolutionize your life. It'll make you feel and look the best you've ever felt. And people your friends and family will say, what are you doing? Did you have Botox? Did you have a facelift? People will be like, what
Yeah.
in the world is going on? You look so good. You look thin. You look trimmed. You look youthful. That's what happens. Juice
True.
fasting is high-level nutrition and digestive rest at the same time. So we are giving our body that digestive rest while having hydration, cellular hydration from the structured water in
Hmm.
juices,
Yeah.
and high-level nutrition and high-level antioxidants, flavonoids, and biophotons and phytochemicals, which just invigorates the body.
Yeah.
So you can regrow hair, you can bring the vitality back to your skin, reduces cysts and fibroids, and reduces varicose veins and cellulite, and will trim you up. You can lose weight. I mean, it's miraculous. The transformation stories that I personally see and assist people through is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, and speaking of juicing, if you guys want to save on the best juicer, the Nama, I'll put a code down below. I want to show you guys real quick how amazing the Nama really is. Shane uses it. I use it. Almost every guest on this channel and everyone you see out there uses it and loves it. I have big news too. Just this week, a brand new Nama J3 was released, and this is a more compact size juicer. This is the J3 right here. I just tested it out, made honeydew mint. It was remarkable. This is about half the size of the J2, and it's just under 10 pounds, can fit in your carry-on. It's great for juice cleansing, small kitchens, beginners, so many amazing things. I highly recommend it. This is the J2, which so many people on this channel use right here. Amazing. These juicers are all easy to use, easy to clean, and have a 15-year warranty. They are made to last, and you get more liquid, more juice extracted from your produce than other juicers, so they are well worth the money. And this is the C2, which is incredible. I have replaced my Vitamix with this because it's a blender and juicer in one. I make everything in here. And this cashew milk was just made in my J2. You can make nut milks in every one of these machines, and it only takes a minute. So these are amazing. I cannot recommend them enough. Use my code Jillian10 at checkout. I'll put the link down below. Support your girl. I love you guys. Let's get back to the podcast. Oh, and this reminds me of a frequently asked question that I get as well. Sometimes people come on and they say, I don't have the money for like a juicer or a blender. Can I still do this? So how would you answer that? I say if you really want a juicer, you can, if you can't afford a good one like the Nama, you can go online, try find one used. And even without that, you can still absolutely start just by eating raw living food. That's what I did. I wasn't big into juicing or smoothies when I first started. So don't feel like you have to have that. Wouldn't you agree? Or what would you say on that?
Yeah, I think that we can start by eating a raw vegan diet. That's what I did. I went raw vegan, completely cold turkey, 100% raw for about a month. And then I did my 40-day juice fast. It changed my life. I changed careers. It showed me the path forward for my life. It was miraculous. If you don't have the money for a juicer, what you really need is to be inspired. You need to, because we can create anything we want with our mind. We are powerful creators here on this planet. And if, you know, a listener right now feels like that lack consciousness, lack, and like they can't afford something they really truly want, that is just lack of accountability. That's lack of inspiration. I recommend the first step to a juice fast is to have accountability and community and wisdom and knowledge around you. If you just watch what other successful people are doing, you'll be inspired. And then your mind, when your mind is inspired, you'll be like, oh, wow, I'm going to get that juicer. And then maybe you got to work for a few months and save up. Well, maybe you get like some miraculous rebate check in the mail, or a tax return comes in, or a gift or something. You don't know. It's not our place to know how the divine connections of the universe are working on our behalf. What we do want to do is say, I deserve to have cleanliness in my body. I deserve to be raw vegan. I deserve a juice fast. And then through that sense of willingness and expectancy and self-honoring, then the universe can work miracles and bring us what we need. But the real first step is accountability, community, access to others who are doing it. That's what's going to change your life the most. And then if you see a path forward for you, then you can say, hey, that's the path for me. And once you get clear on your path, miracles open up. Everything you need will fall into your lap. That's how it works. But if you're sitting here right now saying, I don't have the money for a juicer, you're not ready. You're not inspired enough. So start eating raw vegan. Take it one step at a time. And with that said, though, Jillian, and I always tell people this, do not put pressure on yourself to be perfect. We just see what other successful people do. It shows us what we have within ourselves. So a mentor doesn't show you what to do or tell you what to do. A mentor is the proof, the living proof, and we can see it and we're inspired by it and we're magnetized to it. And if you're magnetized to someone who inspires you, then watch what they do. Watch and listen to how they think and the results they get and what they do on a daily basis, and you start doing that. That'll lead you to a higher octave, a more spiritual path, more abundance in your life, you know, so you can get out of that lack consciousness. So whenever, I'm a high-level mindset expert, so whenever I hear somebody say, I can't afford, the bells go off, the red flags go off. There's deeper self-worth issues going on when somebody says, I can't afford something. But like you said, Jillian, just start with eating raw vegan. That's what I did. Just eat raw vegan until you have detox symptoms and you're like, whoa, I got to clean out my body. I'm having detox symptoms. And then you're going to say, oh, I actually should do a juice cleanse and clear my bowels out. And that's going to help these detox symptoms move faster. And then the next step will unfold for you.
Yeah, okay. This comes into the next question. Somebody said, can you dive into the details related to how bowel movements change during the extreme detox phase? No one ever covers this in depth on YouTube. I was lucky when I went raw vegan. I went raw because my digestion was a mess. Like you were talking about diarrhea, constipation, whatever, all these problems. That's what I had before I went raw. Going raw fixed my gut, got rid of my food allergies, and now I have perfect, frequent bowel movements each day. So what do you
Amazing.
say to some people like related to this question, the bowel movements changing during extreme detox phase? Because I guess extreme detox is pretty common for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, my detox was pretty extreme, everybody. I went through like 4 months of extreme detox. So that meant for me being sick, cold and flu symptoms in bed, headaches, sneezing, coughing. Really, there was even moments where I felt like I had to take NyQuil or ibuprofen to get through it, which of course is counterproductive because I'm detoxing from raw foods, right? So
Mhm.
I made it through though. And during that process, the digestive system is going through transition. The gut microbes are dying off. The parasites, the fungus, and the molds and the yeast that have overgrown are going to die off and actually, more accurately, rebalance and realign with how they're supposed to be. So that process can be very ugly and intense and hard, emotionally hard, and very challenging. So we have to warrior up. We've got to be really committed to our vision. We got to know why we're doing it. Okay, we have to have a big why, because if you're going to be taken down to your knees with a horrendous detox process, you better be prepared to get through it emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So then, really, we're changing the microbes. So you might have a hard time digesting the food. Maybe you have a history of constipation. But look, a raw vegan diet is going to give you the best gut microbiome of your life, going to
Mhm.
give you the strongest gut flora of your life, the strongest bowel musculature of your life, moving all that fibrous food through strong bowel musculature, the fastest bowel transit time, so foods can move through your digestive system very quickly. That's the key to health. What
Mhm.
causes disease, the root of disease, is food sitting in your digestive system, toxins sitting in your digestive system. So fast bowel transit time is literally miraculous. And then it's going to give you the most consistent bowel movements you've ever had in your life. So whether you think you're constipated or not, if you're eating cooked food, you are constipated. Your bowels, your blood, and your lymphatic system are constipated. So raw vegan moves all that, opens the pressure. Now the blood can work properly, the lymphatic system can work properly. So there's so many systems of the body that are at work there. It's not
Yeah.
just the digestive system, but starting off just eating raw vegan will show you where you're at with your digestive system. You're either going to have the runs and a lot of gas, or you're going to be like, okay, I can actually handle this. And you're like, oh, wow, if I eat a bunch of fruit, I have amazing bowel movements. And so you have to determine where you're at. But what I
Mhm.
would recommend is you go all the way, transition that gut. Do what I said, 40-day juice fast, cleanse the bowels, clean it all out, and then break the fast raw vegan and rebuild over 1 year.
And hang
It
in there.
takes,
I feel
yeah,
like a lot of
it
people
takes
don't
a
have the
year.
patience. I think sometimes people don't have the patience. You just really have to hang in there, right? For like what you're saying, like the gut microbiome to change, hang in there, stay committed, and then likely it will change and get better than ever.
Yeah, you got to stay committed, go the distance, and it takes 1 to 2 years to feel good consistently on a raw vegan diet. But hey, you're going to wake up in 2 years either way. So the
Mhm.
question is, who are you going to be in 2 years? Are you going to stay the same now, carrying that extra weight, sleep problems, depression and anxiety, inflammation and autoimmune issues? Or
Mhm.
are you going to get beautiful, sexy, cleaned out, look the best of your life? Imagine where you could be in 2 years if you started your raw vegan journey right now.
Yeah.
Imagine. That's who
Yeah.
you want to be. Again, who are you committed to becoming? That's the question I always ask myself. As a mindset expert and leader, I say, Shane, who are you committed to becoming? And I live today for who I want to be 2 years from now. And
Mhm.
I do that with my health. I do that with my mindset. I do that with my finances. I do that with my relationships. And I do that with my service work, my service to others. I'm always living into who I'm becoming, not who I am today. I'll never settle for who I am today. I'm on an upward trajectory of improving the quality of my life every single day. That's why I eat raw vegan, because it's a
Mhm.
spiritual path. It's a discipline that leads to a better quality of life. The least I can do is feed this sacred, divine, ancient wisdom temple the foods it's designed for. That's the least I can do. And then the bounty comes, the abundance consciousness, the spiritual connection, the food, the joy, the relationships. I mean,
Mhm.
raw vegan has aligned me with who I'm supposed to be. And I think that's pretty clear for the
Mhm. Me
people who
too.
follow me and know me. Yeah, it's made me who I'm supposed to be. It literally
Mhm.
just kicked my butt into gear. Said,
That's
Shane, no more messing around. You're on your path. Here you go.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like my true self, like my highest self on the raw food. And before I was just kind of like this fake version of me, I never
Yeah.
really felt like my real self.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is when I do have cooked food, that's the feeling that comes over me. It's not so much that I maybe feel tired or sluggish or my digestion is slow. I have really great digestion, but I feel that old self. I feel that lower vibration, that lower octave self of not that becoming the best version of myself. And that makes me feel like self-conscious or
Hmm.
just takes the edge off of who I am. So that's why I avoid cooked foods, is because it doesn't give me that radical confidence that I have when I eat raw vegan. That's one of the most incredible benefits. Nobody talks about that. People talk about digestion and bowel movements, and people do talk about that. But you know what nobody talks about that I've ever heard, except maybe me, is radical confidence, self-confidence at a level that
Hmm.
is really not achievable any other way. And I think that comes because the raw foods are supportive on a cellular level. Cellular hydration, it supports the cells, it supports the neurons, it supports the neurotransmitters and hormones, it supports the mind and the brain, and then it supports the higher cognitive connections. And there's no other way to get that. You can't get that with cooked meat and grains and starches and potatoes and
Hmm.
fried foods.
Hmm.
No way.
Yeah. And like I said before, like I started to feel like my higher self and my best self very quick. By the afternoon of the first day, I literally felt like, oh, wow, this is me. This is how I'm supposed to feel. It was like really remarkable and crazy. So for me, it was like instant. But do you remember when it took you to like feel like your true self? How long it took for you?
Yeah, it went in a wave cycle. Like I
Hmm.
felt really high right at first in the first couple months. I had a lot of optimism, like, wow, this path is feeling good. Raw foods feel good. And my body was responding well. And I said, this is going to be doable. But then I had to go into my kind of dark night of the soul detox journey,
Hmm.
which took 2 years to come back out.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
after about 2 years, I started to feel that confidence come back at a level that is really unprecedented in my life. And that's really when my YouTube channel started to take off. And I launched my Raw Vegan Heroes membership community. And my business started to take off. And everything started to gel and combine. And like me as a human and in this persona of being a raw vegan, helping and advocating and educating and teaching and sharing kind of came. And then I developed my voice because I didn't have a voice before that. I was a mousy person. I've really stepped into my, alpha leadership role in my life, like the masculine leadership role. I, provide for everyone in my life. Like, everything works because I've stepped into this level of competence. But that took 2 years. I had to go through the detox. I was at the lowest point of my life, like didn't know who I was. I had to go through a reinvention of the self, a dark night of the soul, a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. It was a hard time. It was a dark time. I faced a lot of my unconscious and subconscious shadow and fears through the raw food path. The raw living food supported me through my shadow journey, and I
Hmm.
emerged on the other side, the reborn version of myself. That's what happened to me.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I love that. And okay, let's talk about weight next. I know it's a little bit different topic, but I hear this so much, and this is among the questions and the frequently asked questions I get. I hear a lot of people scared they're going to lose too much weight. And then I hear some people say the opposite. So for me, like I'm a healthy weight. Last time I weighed myself a few weeks ago was 129.8. I'm 5'7". I actually weigh a little bit more than I did before I was raw vegan. So I have no problem keeping on the weight, but what do you say about the weight thing? How can people keep on the weight or how can people lose the weight on this lifestyle? Like to me, people just kind of reach their perfect weight on it. But what are your thoughts on this topic? Because this is a pretty big topic for people.
Yeah, people are very confused about the way their body works. So the thing I've noticed working with people over the years is that they are disconnected from their body and that they're afraid of their body. They think their body is working against them, so they restrict, they binge, they have weight fluctuations, they yo-yo because they don't know how the biology works. They don't know what their body wants, and they're like fighting their body. So the first thing that happens when you go raw vegan is you're going to retain water weight. You're going to gain a little weight. Why? Because just like when you're injured, you get an injury, what happens? the injury swells because the body brings the plasma and the hydration and the liquids and the enzymes and everything it needs to repair and regenerate that wound. Just like us, we're chronically dehydrated. We're like a walking wound. And when we eat raw vegan, we start to heal. So our body swells with water to start to heal. And that's going to make us feel bloated, uncomfortable, frequent urination, and heavier on the scale. Now, that is just temporary. Obviously, our body is in a healing crisis mode. Okay, so if we stick to a raw vegan diet long enough, what we're going to realize is that food is food, whether it's cooked or whether it's raw. And really what we want to focus on, and I teach on this a lot, I talk about this a lot, is that we don't want to focus on the food. We want to focus on the macronutrient balance. If you focus on the proteins, carbs, and fats, you can control the perfect body composition. But if you focus on the food, you're going to struggle with body composition. So if you say, oh, I want to be a fruitarian, and you just eat a bunch of fruit, well, that's a lot of carbohydrate for the body, and it never has a break from like having all this energy. You're never going to lose weight eating fruit like that. So you have to have proteins and fats, and then you can balance your proteins and fats and carbohydrates to get the perfect body composition. And when you first go raw vegan, you're going to eat a ton. You're never going to feel full. You're going to be constantly battling this like never satiated feeling. God, I ate a ton from morning till night for the first 2 years. That was part of my detox, was just like voraciously eating all the time. Now I have to actually consciously not eat, or I gain weight easily because my body's so efficient at eating raw foods, digesting and absorbing raw foods. So I actually have to, I track my macros every day. I do. And it's not convenient to track, it's like, if you're not used to that, you might think that's a real pain in the butt, but it has helped me reach my goals. And so I just put in my food, keep a little food diary. It tells me my macros for the day. I can hit my protein targets. I can hit my fat targets, and I can hit my carbohydrate targets. That helps me be successful. That allows me to eat less food and get more nutrition, better body composition, and then I can have the body I want, eating how I want. So there's that myth that we're going to wither away eating raw food. I mean, how is that possible? You're getting tons of calories. I gain weight on raw food if I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
And then that you're going to gain too much weight eating all this fruit. That's a fallacy as well. You just got to be attentive to the macronutrients and the calorie ratio that you're consuming. And it's miraculous. You get the best of both worlds. You get the high level nutrition. You can eat less. You get good body composition, and you feel and look the best of your life, which is really the key, and we don't need to be super lean. See, what I think is that we're misled so drastically in our society by the fitness narrative, by the medical mainstream narrative that says we have to eat a high protein diet and we have to build muscle in the gym to be sexy. And we see all these influencers who are in their 20s and 30s when you're at that genetic potential. But as we age, we're not in our prime genetic potential anymore. Eating high protein and working out at the gym like that is not realistic. What we actually need to do is cleanse and purify our body. We want to eat the necessary protein for our body to be healthy, but not excess protein, because that's going to cause waste accumulation in our bowels, So really then, what do we focus on instead? We should focus on cleansing and purifying the body. That's going to make us beautiful. That's going to make us sexy. Everybody just wants to be beautiful. That's why they go to the gym and pork down huge amounts of animal protein, because they want to be beautiful. But you know what really makes people beautiful? Cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. A raw vegan diet makes people beautiful. It just does. And it radiates from the consciousness within you and the aura within you. So don't worry about the weight. Worry about the waste. Get the waste out. I always say, don't worry about weight loss. Worry about waste loss. Get the waste out of your cells. Cellular detoxification is the path to being beautiful at 50 and beyond.
I love that. And do you personally weigh yourself ever? Do you know what you weigh or no?
Yeah, I'm like 184 right now.
Nice.
I
Cool.
do.
Okay.
I got a
Yeah.
scale. So yeah, I track my macros and I track my calories and I track my weight so that I can be a beautiful example of a 50-year-old man. I don't want to have a belly like a lot of 50-year-old men have. And in order to do that, I eat raw foods. I cleanse and purify my bowels. I drink juices. I juice fast. and I track my macros and calories to make sure that I'm on track for my goals. Oh yeah.
Okay. And
Because
that
hey,
seems
look,
like a good weight. That seems like a good weight to me. I'm not an expert in male weight categories, but that seems like a healthy weight.
yeah, well, it depends on the height. I'm 6'2",
Hmm.
so 184 pounds is pretty lean at 6'2". You know, my
Hmm.
muscle mass is pretty good. I am strong. I go to the
Hmm.
gym a lot, frequently, 4 to 5 days a week. I go to the gym. So I love the gym. It's just the focus shouldn't be the gym if for someone who's eating omnivore. If you're eating an omnivore diet, your focus really needs to shift to cleansing your body and purifying your body. That might take a couple years. And then when your body's like humming like a fine-tuned engine, then
Hmm.
you can go back to the gym and then you
Hmm.
can get the real results, the alkaline muscle, the lean muscle built on your sovereign protein, not animal DNA protein. That stuff is inflammatory. You don't want that in your body. You don't want to build your body on animals' bodies. That's not a
True.
good path. That's
No.
not a path for beauty. You know, true beauty is sovereignty. True beauty is alignment. True beauty is, you know, having the wisdom of consciousness and the earth and the divine within us. That's true beauty. If you got that in your aura, you're going to radiate beauty. People are going to notice you. They're going to pay attention to you. They're going to be impressed by you, you
Hmm.
know? And how many people out there eating the omnivore diet are impressive? Maybe when you're young, you know, but then we lose it.
Hmm.
So if you want to maintain that glow through you as you age, raw vegan is the path.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. And fruitarian for a second. So somebody said, is raw vegan healthier than fruitarian? Objectively, it seems like it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people who think fruitarian is the best path for raw vegan, but raw vegan is the better path. Raw vegan comes down to macronutrients. What I was saying, we want to track our proteins, carbs, and fats. We don't want to restrict macronutrients. And that's the one thing that the fruitarians tend to do is reduce or restrict fats and say, oh, I can't eat fats. Nuts and seeds are bad. Nuts and seeds slow my digestion or are acidic or inflammatory. It's not true. We need to have high quality omega-3 rich sources of fats in our diet if we are going to age well, look good, and be a healthy example of a raw vegan. So I shoot for about 20% of my calories from omega-3 fats. I have flax seeds every day. I eat chia seeds a lot. I eat hemp seeds almost every day. Those are my primary sources. I also love walnuts. I love pumpkin seeds. I love sunflower seeds. And those are my primary sources of fats in that order, probably. And then without the fats, we're gonna age poorly. The fats are absolutely key. So I do not recommend a fruitarian diet. And I love fruit. I eat a lot of fruit myself, but I don't recommend fruitarian. I mean, let's be honest. If we, I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if you look carefully at people who are advocates for just fruit, or
Hmm.
very, very high fruit diets. How are they looking? You can gauge for yourself. How are they looking? And then somebody like
Yeah.
me who advocates for fats and proteins, eats lots of fats and proteins. Hey, sometimes I will eat 50% of my calories from fats in a day and have no guilt at all and feel amazing. My digestion is spot on and perfect because the one thing that can happen if you eat a fruitarian diet is your body adapts to the super high carbohydrates. And then when you have fats, a handful of nuts and seeds, it makes you feel, it interferes, the
Hmm.
lipids get into the blood and interfere with that high carbohydrate profile in your blood. And then you get dizzy and you get tired, and people
Hmm.
think it's the fats that are the problem. It's the balance of the macros that we really want to go for. So start off your raw vegan diet with the proper macro balance and get good balance of fats. And you'll never experience that, oh, I have to be fruitarian. Oh, nuts and seeds make me feel bad thing.
So if you were eating only fruit, say the last 5 years, you don't think you would look this good?
No,
No. Hmm.
no,
Hmm.
no way.
Okay.
Absolutely no way. No,
Hmm.
no. In fact, I've been scared. You know, let me be real frank and very honest. I've been scared to be a fruitarian because fruitarians lose their hair. And, you know, I just don't think it's a good idea for me to be
You
fruitarian.
think? Do they? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Go look for yourself. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, I think for me, I'm focused on health. I'm focused on I know intuitively that we need good amounts of healthy fats. And by healthy fats, I'm not talking animal fat under any circumstances. I'm talking about omega-3 rich sources of whole raw fats in our diet.
Yeah.
Like
Which are like, what are your top sources for that? What are your top three for that?
without question, flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp seeds.
Okay. Yeah.
And the only people you ever hear poo-poo flax seeds are fruitarians, because anybody who's healthy knows that flax seeds are incredible for omega-3s and all the other phytonutrients that are in flax seeds, highly anti-aging. I mean, flax seeds are on the list for top anti-aging foods. Come on, they just are.
And
So
yeah.
there's no reason to avoid them, but we want to get them in whole sources, like it's what I do is I buy whole flax seeds and then I
Yeah.
grind them right there fresh on the spot as I eat them. We don't want oxidized fat. So
Well,
I
like you
don't
put them
have
in your
to,
smoothie, right? You mean like you put
yeah, correct.
the whole seeds in your smoothie?
I
Yeah.
do every day.
Yeah. And I know what you mean. Like I interviewed Fred Bishy. He's in his 90s and like he eats an avocado a day and like he still eats fats and stuff and he's 94, totally thriving. Doesn't have glasses. When I was at his house in Staten Island last year, he was like running around the house showing me stuff. Never once said what, pardon. Like everything was just on point. So I don't know. I think a variety is important and good for our gut too, right? Like I like fruit during cleanses. And like I don't think I know everything, but I think a variety is good for our gut too. I like personally, I like to
Yeah,
have a variety. I'm still interested in like fruitarian and people who do that, but I personally like a big variety in the gut for the microbiome.
for sure. And Fruitarian is awesome for cleansing. We can
Mm-hmm.
have all fruit and do an all fruit cleanse. It's great for that. Fruit is great for cleansing and bowel transit time, purifies the bowels, but long term, we want to have balance and variety. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nutrient density is key. So where are we getting our nutrient density from? You know, Fruit doesn't have enough protein. It doesn't have enough fats, and it doesn't have B12, it doesn't have zinc, it doesn't have iodine, it doesn't have, a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
key nutrients that our body needs. It doesn't have, it's missing, it's not a whole, complete food source in and of itself, but it is
And
wonderful.
with protein, like I get people, even like vegans or raw vegans, if I post anything about protein, it is a common thing where I do hear people say like the protein thing is BS, like it's BS. So like what do you say about that? Like what do you say about that?
Well, I do social media content, so if I want to do some clickbait or be sensational about it, I'll say stop eating protein. Protein makes you sick, but of course I strive for, 15 to 30% protein in my diet, depending on the day, depending on what I'm going for. Sometimes I actually really like higher protein days, and I'll eat a lot of sprouts and make sure I'm getting high protein foods in. And I go for that sometimes because it mixes it up and it's a variety for me. So I focus on protein sometimes, but raw vegan protein only. I say it hands down. Look, I always say it. Do not focus on protein. Focus on one macronutrient. This is a pro tip. I'm going to just drop a real pro tip in everybody's lap right now. Focus on one macronutrient at a time for perfect success every time with your diet and your health. Focus on one macronutrient at a time. So what I
Mhm.
focus on is fats only. I don't focus on carbohydrates and I don't focus on protein. I focus on fats. I make sure that every day I'm getting at least minimum 20% of my calories from a good omega-3 sources of fats. Now, by default, the proteins fall where they do and the carbohydrates fall where they do. And generally that puts me in the range I want to be in. So if we try to focus on how do I get this protein? How do I get this fat? How do I get this carbohydrate? We get overwhelmed
Mhm.
and we get confused and we give up. Focus on one macronutrient at a time. If you're going to track a macro, track your fats. It's what I do.
So would you
And
say like in your diet as a whole, you keep your overt fats around 20%? Or are you just like sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower?
definitely sometimes higher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Uh,
too. Yeah.
Sometimes could be lower. I mean, there are days like if I'm doing a calorie deficit to trim up, I've actually bathing suit season is coming up. It's going to be summer in a couple months. And so I am actually on a little bit of a calorie cut right now
Hmm.
to trim up and, show a little more abs for the summer. And I'm reducing my fats in order to achieve that goal. And see, like I said, pro tip, track one macronutrient. So I'm not worried about, all I'm doing is doing a little calorie deficit and cutting the fats back. That's all I'm doing for
Yeah.
that, to show a little more abs, right? So it's
Okay.
really that simple. It's
It
really
is.
that simple.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And what I hear often is a frequently asked question, what about all the fruit? What about all the fruit juices? Oh my gosh, the blood sugars. So a lot of people are scared to live this lifestyle and have like a lot of fruit or even like the juices, but even just the fruit. And from my personal experience, I had major blood sugar problems before being raw. Many times I fainted if I didn't eat because my blood sugars were such a mess. And they said in the hospital, you have hypoglycemia. Like even in high school, I used to pass out. People thought I had an eating disorder,
Wow.
but my blood sugars were such a mess. And never in 8 years almost where I've never had one issue. I could fast if I needed to for a long time, go without a meal for a long time. I feel like clear, nothing's going on. So for
Yeah.
me and for so many people I've interviewed, it reminds me of like Lawrence and so many people I've interviewed that have reversed their like diabetes through smoothies, juices, fruits on the lifestyle. But
Yeah.
what do you say if somebody says that to you? Oh my goodness, Shane, what about all that fruit though? This is crazy. All the blood sugars going crazy.
Well, I hear it every single day in, droves of comments saying you can't eat
Yeah.
carbohydrates, fruit sugar and is sugar, 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 sugar. However, we are being really bombarded by these high animal product based narratives right now, the carnivore diet, celebrities doing the carnivore diet, and paleo and keto diets. So there's an agenda to really push the high fat, high animal-based diet. So right there, that confuses the issue a lot. And if people buy into that narrative at all, then they're going to be like, whoa, sugar's going to mess you up. Carbohydrates, fruits, smoothies are bad for you. But what they don't realize is that our biology is designed to run on simple carbohydrates, not complex carbohydrates. So what wreaks havoc on your blood sugar and spikes your blood sugar and drops your blood sugar is starches. Starches are complex carbohydrates that spike the blood sugar. So like bread and potatoes
Mm-hmm.
and these types of starchy foods will spike the blood sugar. But if you eat fruit, just fruit, you get very low blood sugar response, very low, almost none, the lowest glycemic foods of all. A glycemic load, that is. Glycemic index measures the amount of sugar in a food. Glycemic load measures the amount of sugar that makes it into the bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really interesting and ironic is that the starches, like potatoes and grains, don't taste sweet to our tongue. They have a lower glycemic index, but they have a higher glycemic load. They dump a ton of sugar into the blood, spikes the blood sugar, spikes insulin. But if you eat fruits, it tastes sweet on the tongue, but there's hardly any sugar dumped into the blood. So it doesn't raise the blood sugar. So this points to the fact that the simple carbohydrates are exactly what our body wants for energy. And if we're eating high fat animal based diets, it interferes with the carbohydrate. Like I was saying
Mm-hmm.
before, if you are a fruitarian for 6 months or a year, and then you have some nuts and seeds, it's going to make you feel dizzy and make you feel tired
Mm-hmm.
because you have all these carbohydrates in your body, and the lipids, the fats, the lipids will interfere. So you got to balance the fats and the carbohydrates properly. You can't go all high fat keto. It's so absurd. There's no water in keto. There's no hydration in keto. There's no enzymes. There's no living nutrients in keto, and there's no fiber in keto. It's just an absurdity to think our body can thrive on these types of diets.
Yeah.
And it interferes with the sugars, the simple carbohydrates, and fresh, raw living foods. So if you're keto and you try to eat raw vegan, you're going to go haywire. But if you eat raw vegan and stay away from that cooked food, you're going to feel the best of your life. So
Yeah.
that's really the bottom line, is just our body's designed for simple carbohydrates.
Okay. And what do you say? Because this is something I hear commonly. People will come on the channel, they'll see this lifestyle, and they'll say, well, why do people heal on carnivore then? Or why do they heal on keto? But a lot of them say, well, why do they heal on carnivore then? Can you explain that? So, what do you say when someone asks you that?
Yeah, I get that a lot because it's a popular narrative right now. But we have to understand that cooked meat is very, very detrimental to our body for multiple reasons. For one, it slows the digestive system down. It creates pathogenic imbalance of fungus, molds, and yeasts and bacteria in the GI tract. It also creates a high uric acid accumulation and buildup in the body. It creates biofilm in the body, in the bowels and in the blood, and will restrict the lymphatic flow. So while it is a whole food and it can reduce inflammation temporarily because maybe you've gotten off of inflammatory foods
Mm-hmm.
like processed foods and oils and things like that, it's still going to be acid forming over time. The highest acid forming content foods are meat, milk, eggs, grains, starches, cooked oils, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, and of course, toxic chemicals and food additives create acid accumulation in the body. So the people who eat animal-based diets like indigenous cultures, the Inuit Eskimos, they have the shortest lifespan of any peoples on Earth.
True.
The people who have the highest lifespans of any peoples on Earth eat carbohydrates.
They eat
So
mostly plants, right? The people
yeah,
that have, yeah.
mostly plants. Of course, the
Mm-hmm.
blue zones, and then the Hunza tribe is an interesting example. They eat high amounts of fruits and apricots. They are apricot growers up in the mountains of Pakistan, and the Hunza tribe have some of the longest lived documented lifespans of up to 125, 130 years is common. And they are fruit eaters. They're eating
Mm-hmm.
fruits as opposed to the Inuit Eskimos living in the tundra who have a lower lifespan of like average age 55.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite a broad range there. So why people heal from carnivore is maybe because they've stopped eating processed food. But there's nothing healing about cooked food in general. And there's nothing healing about tortured animals in the factory farming system. We've defiled them, their bodies, their consciousness through those acts, and then we defile our body by taking that into our body. We're harming ourselves on a consciousness level because we somehow think that a dead body creates life. A dead body is going to create vitality. A dead, tortured body is going to bring life force into this body. We need the sun. We
Mm-hmm.
need the light codes in the sun to come through the fresh, raw, living foods to show us our true spiritual path. And this is an awakening path of
Mm-hmm.
ancient wisdom. So I'm not speaking to the carnivores. I'm not speaking to them. I'm speaking to, the mystics, the modern mystics and the light workers and the awakened ones and the angelic ones who are really ready to take this needle one step further, who want to
Yeah.
join in the mission and the fight for a better future for humanity. More factory farming is not the better future for humanity. That means we need more farmland to grow more grain and soy and corn to feed more livestock, and we create waste and such destruction. No, let's leave all of the death out of the equation, reclaim our sovereignty, and
True.
eat for our spiritual truth and purity.
Yeah,
That's a raw vegan.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And one thing I do notice with people that choose to eat that way, like I interviewed Fred Bishy, like I talked to you about before, 94 years old, Dr. Fred Bishy, long-term raw vegan. And he said the same thing, like it works for a while because they're removing like so many of the triggers and so much of the processed food and all that. But then he said, and I do notice too, I see like stuff on YouTube and I see through people, it seems after a while, you do see a lot of cases where people are like, I went to the doctor, I'm on carnivore, I have super high cholesterol, super high blood pressure, and like heart problems and all these problems too, right? So, I mean, it's something to
Definitely.
consider. And like you said, spiritually, even if that diet was going to heal me, which it didn't, because I did a high meat, almost carnivore diet before going raw. My mom would come over for dinner. I'd be like, here's your dinner, just like a huge prime rib, and that's it. Even if that was going to heal me, which it didn't, like spiritually, like you said, I don't want that in me, right? It's a different life
Mhm.
spiritually when you cleanse all that out of you and just eat the pure, raw living foods.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
really, what I think is one of the core understandings is cooked fats. Heated, cooked, oxidized, saturated fat is terrible for the body. It creates tons of free radical damage. It's going to age you real quick. And it just creates a digestive leukocytosis, low grade immune, white blood cell response, The oils are congesting to the bowels, the blood, and the lymph. We don't want cooked oils in the diet at all. No cooked fats, no cooked oils.
Yeah,
That's the
those
number
are, I
one thing.
think, way worse than people even realize, the cooked
Yeah.
oils, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
And
And fiber is so key and like one of the most important things for our gut. And that's like so much of our immune system and our whole body. And in the animal products, there's no fiber at all, right? There's like zero
yeah.
fiber, right? Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, which leads to biofilm accumulation in the GI tract. It's literally mucus. It's turning into mucus in the GI tract, and that mucus can harden. And that's where we get the plaques and the impacted waste in the GI tract. So it wreaks havoc on the GI tract over time.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the first year or even 5 years, but over time, the bowels become filled with hardened mucus. And
Yep.
that's poisoning us from the inside. It poisons us and slows our bowel transit time and wreaks havoc on the GI tract, which is the core root system of our sacred vessel here. The core root system needs actively decaying organic matter to be healthy.
Hmm.
Actively decaying organic plant matter is the compost of the body. It's the root system of the body. We have to feed the body organically, actively decaying plant matter. That's the source of all life on Earth comes from that.
Okay, well said. And getting enough minerals and nutrients. In your opinion, what do you have to say about that? For me, I eat a wide variety and I still do supplement. If you guys want the supplements I take, I'll link them below. They're amazing. It's like an all-in-one with B12, iodine, zinc, K2, DHA, a couple things, a couple other things. But what do you say about that? Some people come into the lifestyle concerned. Am I going to get enough nutrients? Am I going to get enough minerals? Will something maybe be deficient? Will I end up deteriorated? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, cleanse the bowels first because we can't talk about nutrient deficiencies until we talk about how is the body absorbing. 80% of the US population is nutrient deficient, and
Hmm.
yet 80% of the US population is obese and overeating food and nutrient deficient. And that's because the bowels are filled with plaque and biofilm and can't absorb the nutrition properly. Doesn't matter how much you eat, doesn't matter how many supplements you take. If you're not absorbing properly, you're not going to be able to overcome the deficiency. Cleansing the bowels is step number one. This is why I say do a 40-day juice fast, follow the right protocol, make sure
Hmm.
you're doing it correctly, cleanse all of the waste out of your GI tract, break the fast with a 100% raw vegan diet, refeed the body for 1 year on a 100% raw vegan diet. Your absorption of nutrition will be improved at miraculous levels.
Hmm.
From there, we can start to monitor our supplement intake and make sure we're getting things that might be naturally deficient in the food supply, like iodine and B12, which the animals don't get it either. They're fed supplements in their feed
Hmm.
anyway. Now we can get B12 from some natural sources, some greens, some ferments, some soils and well water, spring water can have B12. But we do want to be conscious of it. We might want to get a blood panel done and see where we're at. And then we can supplement with full knowledge and wisdom of what we're doing. I tend to go for the ones you said. Like I'm highly aware of the zinc intake I get. I eat a lot of sprouted
Hmm.
lentils for the zinc content, and also vitamin D. I get from the sun. I go out of my way for that, K2. And I do mineral supplements. I do trace minerals. I do fulvic, colloidal minerals. I love mineral supplements.
Hmm.
So as long as we're eating a wide variety of nutrient-dense foods and we're aware of our absorption ability in our body, we're gonna do great. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm a lifelong vegan. I went vegan when I was at 17 years old. I didn't care about supplements. I didn't take a single supplement until I was probably well into my 30s. I never even thought about it for one split second. I
Hmm.
was an ethical vegan for the animals, and all I knew as a kid is that I didn't want to eat the animals. So I didn't ever become nutrient deficient or B12 deficient. I don't know, maybe because I was young, my absorption probably was still good. I
Hmm.
don't exactly know why, but if as long as we are just focused on health and nutrition, we're gonna be fine. You
Hmm.
know, it's the people who are unconscious about it, eating the sad diet, eating whatever they want and thinking that's enough. Those are the people that become deficient in zinc and iodine. And then they're bald by the time they're 30 and they don't know why, because they never thought about it. we just want to avoid that.
I think zinc is way more important than people realize. I've heard so much about like if people are constantly catching colds or getting sick, like a lot of it is like low zinc and low vitamin D. So I think those things are really key and important.
The two things that I take every day in supplement form are, and I go in the sun to get vitamin D. I'm a fiend for vitamin D, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
I take large doses of vitamin D every day in liquid form, and I take large doses of zinc every day in liquid form. I put them in my
Mm-hmm.
smoothies.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So those are
Good.
two that I do for myself because, at this stage for me, I've been 7 years raw vegan, multiple decades on a plant-based diet. I have an intuitive feeling. You kind of get an intuitive feeling over time. I'm not going to say you're going to be intuitive 6 months into a vegan diet, but over the decades, you get a feeling for what's right and what's going to enhance your experience. I don't think of it like I supplement to avoid deficiency. I supplement to enhance my physical experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have extra zinc, I'm going to feel extra good.
Yeah,
And so
I
I'm
feel better
always,
on supplements too. My mental
yeah,
health is better on supplements and I feel better. So I think you just have to like consider it.
yeah.
And yeah, and somebody said, okay, I hear this a lot too. This is really super common, probably one of the most common things. Can you talk about the struggle during this raw eating lifestyle when dealing with family and friends? And when going to social events, what do you take besides a fruit or vegetable tray? Finally, in relationships, please address whether your partner is supportive and also vegan, or do some raw vegans date non-vegans? I mean, for me, I make it work no matter what. My whole family, my kids aren't raw vegans. One of them's plant-based, one of them eats freaking everything under the sun. So I still make it work. I'm a priority. I do green juicing, all these things to make me feel amazing. And I never crave their foods. I stay prepared. I bring food everywhere I go, even if it's like a wedding. And my friends have changed. A lot of them did change as I went raw and started treating my body better. I attracted better friends. But what do you say? Any tips for dealing with this and making this work in a world that doesn't eat this way?
Yeah, I have a lot of tips. I support my clients with this all the time. Just yesterday, I had a client ask me this exact question, a private client of mine, someone who's paid me my big money to have full access to me on my phone every day. And she was asking the same question. So I really love this question. You know what my response is in general is nobody cares what you're eating. People are self-conscious. They're worried about themselves. If you show up to a family gathering, and my
Hmm.
client was going to a family reunion, and she was nervous about being a new raw vegan. Like, what was she going to do and say? Does she have to explain herself? What's she going to bring? And I said, look, nobody cares what you're eating. Just show up extra available, ready to contribute to conversation, contribute food, help prepare the food, help serve people. Nobody is going to worry what's on your plate or not on your plate when you're there in service to them. So that's the way
Hmm.
around whether we're feeling judged by our family members at gatherings is contribute, bring your best self, go out of your way to make a difference. That's who we want to be anyway. We want to be that leader who is not self-conscious, but is other-focused, that's
Hmm.
giving to other people. Get out of your own self-consciousness and give. Give. Have the servant's heart, and you can't go wrong. Can you serve wrong? Is somebody going to judge you because you're serving? Nobody's going to care what's on your plate. They're going to be like, wow, that person is so generous. Then you can counteract any negative conversation. And if the conversation comes up around diet and nutrition, just avoid it. Take it to the higher octave. That's what I do. In fact, I'll reveal a little secret right now, a little insight into the way my mind works for everybody. I have a note right here for our video today, Jillian, and right at the top of my notes, just to help keep me on track for the energy I want to bring, I put higher octave. Higher octave is where I want to be with everything that comes out of my mouth. And that's really who we always
Hmm.
want to be. So at a family gathering, when you're in the conversation of plant-based or vegan versus carnivore, take it to the higher octave. And
Yeah.
this is what I said to my client yesterday is you cannot fight fire with fire. You can't solve a problem from the level the problem was created. That's an Albert
Hmm.
Einstein quote. So to solve a problem, we got to take it to the higher octave. We got to go bird's eye view. We got to look at it from the big picture. And when we zoom out, what do we find? We find people are small, people are self-conscious, people are self-concerned, people are self-absorbed. serve them, do your best to help them, go out of your way to help people. That's all we can do. That's the
Yeah.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
That's the
Great.
big picture.
Great
You
advice.
know,
And I feel like don't judge them because you don't want them judging you. I don't judge them. If
yeah,
I'm at
don't
gatherings
judge.
and people are like, you eat that way, I don't judge them if they're eating meat. Like that doesn't inspire anybody or push that just like pushes people away. Right. So
Yeah.
most of it, I've never had a problem in real life at any social gathering. If anything, people get more inspired to eat more fruits and vegetables. They never judge me for it. And like they're
Yeah.
super awesome. So,
That's so awesome. And on the relationship front, when I went raw vegan, my wife at the time, married about 10 years, wasn't down. She wasn't on board. And the deeper I went into the raw vegan lifestyle, the bigger the rift came between us. And it really showed us how incompatible we were. And we did get divorced. And now I'm with a raw vegan woman who is actually a lifelong ethical vegan, just like me. Her father is vegan. Her father's
mhm,
an ethical vegan too. So that I can't tell you how good that feels for my
mhm.
girlfriend's, my significant other's father to be vegan. That means I have a lot in common with him. You know how the in-law thing is.
True.
Like,
Yeah, I do. True. Good
so
point.
that feels incredible. And the way that our lifestyles sync is so incredibly honoring. I feel so lucky. Every day I say the words to her, I am so grateful for you. I'm so lucky to have found you. I feel that way. I'm literally
Wow.
on my knees every day thanking God that I have a raw vegan partner who sees the world like I do. So I had to go through a major transition of divorce. I had to go through again another reinvention and a dark night of the soul, facing my shadow to get through my divorce. It was very painful. Divorce, of course, is very stressful, very painful to realign. It wasn't that I was just going through stress; I was realigning. That's what a raw vegan diet does. It's woo. It just
Mhm.
brings you into alignment with who you're supposed to be. So relationships might have to shift or fall away for you to be in alignment. But you want to align. We all want to be in the highest alignment. So it's worth it. It's worth the effort to get into alignment so you can have the best possible life. And we do our best with my kids. My kids aren't raw or vegan at all because they live with their mother, my ex-wife. So they live that lifestyle, and I love them. I support them, but there's just times when we have to compartmentalize. We have to be our own life, our own example, live in our sovereignty, live our truth, claim it, speak it, be in the higher octave. That's all we can do.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. And okay, this question is, are parasites, I do hear about this sometimes on the channel, are parasites something we need to be concerned about? And can parasites really influence you or induce cravings? I just did a really good podcast with an expert on this, so it might have been posted just before this video. If it is, I'll link it below, or it's coming just after this video, one or the other, so subscribe for that. But I did a cleanse a couple years into being raw, and I released a ton of parasites when I was doing enemas. So I know for a fact they're real. I have a lot of pictures on my phone. It was a crazy experience. And there's different foods and a lot of things we discuss in that video. So stay tuned for that. But what do you say about parasites, Shane? Do you think there's something we need to be concerned about or no?
Yeah, we have parasites. Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
do indeed. Even just overgrowth of bacteria, mold, and fungus and yeast in the GI tract can wreak havoc on our body. And so people call that parasites, like candida, as a parasite, but it's really an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to balance the gut. That's what we want to do. But we might have worms. We might have actual parasites or, flukes in the liver or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Eating a raw vegan diet is the first step. Most people think they have to do a parasite cleanse first. No, eat raw vegan first. Get your body
Mm-hmm.
cleaned out because the terrain of the body won't support you can't be the host to them when you are raw vegan. And then also, being raw vegan first just is the right path, and then you can do a parasite cleanse later if you need to. And most people think they need to do a water fast first when they actually need to cleanse their bowels and do a juice fast. The vast majority of people get it wrong and think water fasting is what they need. And so people kind of get that wrong. They think they have to parasite cleanse and water fast when they really need to juice fast and eat raw vegan first, probably for a couple years. And then you can do some liver flushes, and then you can do some parasite cleansing and some blood cleansing protocols specifically. But starting off with a parasite cleanse while you're still eating animal products and eating omnivore and grains and cooked oils, it makes zero sense. You're going to waste your time, and then it's not going to even give you the results you're looking for. If you just focus on a raw vegan diet first, bowel detoxification is the first step. And actually, the first step before that is accountability. Watch what others are doing. Be accountable to a group and a community of others who are doing that type of work. And then you're going to see the path that's easiest, natural, supportive to your lifestyle, supportive to your personality. It doesn't have to be pressured. It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be stressful. It can be easy. It really can be easy with the right support system. I want people to know that, because that's the world I live in every day, helping people do it and making it easy for them. So yeah, and then parasites plague people and plague people's mind and consciousness. Actually, I had one client who was convinced she had parasites eating her from the inside, when really all she needed to do was do a juice fast and cleanse the waste and the acids, the crystallized hardened acids, out of the GI tract, and her pain went away. So it wasn't parasites, it was just all these acids in her GI tract. So, we have to be careful we're not misunderstanding
True.
what's actually
Yeah.
happening in the body.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, but
And I know
parasites are real.
yeah, I agree. And I know we touched on it a little bit with protein, but a common thing I do hear is like people want to know like so maybe just give me like your top 5 protein sources. And then also if there's anything you can think of before we end off, that's maybe like anything you hear frequently question that you think we haven't touched on.
Okay, protein sources. I love sprouted lentils. They're
Mhm.
incredibly high in protein, and I eat them every day, just about. They're super easy to make. You just soak them in a jar of water on the counter, and within 12 hours, they're ready to eat pretty much. You can drain and rinse a couple times. You can get the little tails to sprout out, but
Mhm.
so easy, so high in protein. So I've sprouted lentils every day. Hemp seeds, really high in protein. 3 grams, 10 grams of protein per per
3
3 tablespoons.
tablespoons. Yeah.
Three
Yeah.
tablespoons of hemp seeds, you got 10 grams of protein. I mean, holy moly.
Mhm.
Easy to throw 3 tablespoons in a smoothie or in a salad dressing or on your salad or in a wrap or something like that. Super easy.
Mhm.
Chia seeds. One of my top. Also high in omega-3s, high in protein, really easy to digest. If you make a chia pudding, you're soaking those chia seeds, it's almost complete digestion. People talk about the enzyme inhibitors and the anti-nutrients in nuts and seeds, not in chia seeds. Easy for the body to get the protein in chia seeds. Really incredible. I also am a really big believer in greens. I eat a lot of greens. You need greens. Sometimes I will juice greens, like high levels of greens in my juice, to get a ton of protein in just in one juice, or blend greens and pack like a half a pound of greens into one smoothie and drink that down. Wonderful way to get protein. And these are good quality proteins that are the right proteins for the human body. These are not complex protein structures in animal products. These are the simple building block amino acids that are in plants. These are the ideal building blocks for the human biology. And you can see me and the results I have eating raw vegan and plant-based for over 3 decades. I'm
Mhm.
not an animal eater. You can see how I look right here. People think I'm always wearing makeup and have filters on. No, I don't. And no surgery.
Yeah,
That's what I always
people
get.
were just commenting on our video right before we started this interview. This girl was like, he's had so much work done.
I get it all the time. It's so crazy. For one, people, just so you guys know, I hate doctors. I'd never let them touch me. I would never let a doctor touch me with a knife. That's insane.
Yeah, lots of people think you've had your nose done or you've had a facelift and you shoot
Just
up
because I got a
Botox
sexy nose, thank
and
you
you
very
shoot up
much.
Botox and they just think like all these things.
So that's a low animal protein diet, baby, right there. Low animal protein. So we want the plant proteins. Okay, so I listed off my tops right there.
Yeah, that was your
Um,
tops. Yeah.
Those are my top protein sources for a raw vegan diet. And of course, there's other ones, other sprouted legumes, and
Hmm.
other sprouts. Sprouted nuts and seeds are excellent. Oh, and the other prime source of proteins is just nuts and seeds in general, soaked nuts and seeds.
Yeah, true.
Pumpkin seeds, uh, you know, uh, sunflower seeds, walnuts, almonds, all excellent, good plant-based proteins. So yeah, those are the key things.
Okay, good.
You
Amazing.
asked if there was any other question that people always ask me that I think that we should touch on. Um, people say to me, Shane, I would love to go raw. I don't know where to start.
That's a big one.
So yeah, that's a big one. I think the most important place to start is accountability. I teach this a lot because how are we going to go through a lifestyle change? How are we going to shift the paradigm? How are we going to bust through to a new paradigm alone? Sitting in our house alone? That's not going to happen. No one was ever successful alone. You want to know where to start? Seek accountability through mentorship. And this is why I have my group coaching program, Raw Vegan Heroes, to provide the accountability and the mentorship. So people don't need to know where to start. They don't have to have it figured out. Literally just watch and observe what others are doing. So I always say, hey, don't put pressure on yourself to be raw vegan. In fact, don't eat any raw foods. Don't buy any raw foods. Don't start eating raw. Don't do a juice fast. Watch what others are doing. And then naturally, little by little, you'll say, oh, that's inspiring. I want to try that. Oh, that looks good. I want to try that. It'll lead you. We learn better and faster together. We go farther together. Accountability is how we go from where we are to where we want to be. Mentorship is how we get the results. It's the absolute truth for people. So to transform your life, to become a raw vegan, start with accountability. Join a community. We have to be intentional about the crab bucket that we're around. If we're around our default world and we're letting our friends and our family and our coworkers influence us, we're going to get the body and the health of the friends and family and coworkers. Are they overweight, telling us that we got to eat, animal protein to be healthy? That's what we're up against. So it's the crab bucket analogy, and I tell the crab bucket analogy all the time. And it's like, a fisherman is on this pier and a guy walks by and he sees the fisherman has a bucket of crabs. And he says, hey, you got to put a lid on that bucket of crabs or they're going to all climb out. And the fisherman says, no, if one crab tries to climb out of that bucket, all the other crabs pull him back down in. Well, that's what we're up against with our friends and our family and our coworkers and our society. If we're going to get out of the crab bucket, man, we got to be intentional. We got to invest with mentorship, accountability, guidance, community, knowledge, and support. That gets you to where you want to go. That's the path of awakening. For the awakening ones who feel the call in their heart, the truth seekers, the modern mystics, the light workers, and the ones who feel that angelic call to the higher octave. That's the track I'm on. So come join in on that awakening movement, everybody. That's where it's at, and that's what's incredible. So that's my message to people.
Yeah. Okay, great. And where can everybody find you? And I'll link everything down below.
Raw Vegan Rising on social media, everybody. Instagram, Raw Vegan Rising. YouTube, Raw Vegan Rising. In fact, I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube. I go into every single detail anybody could ever need to know about a raw vegan diet. I tell my personal stories. I tell transitional stories. I do trainings. I do educational talks. Every single aspect I talk about on my YouTube channel. So that's a great resource. And then also on Facebook as Raw Vegan Rising. So I'm all over Raw Vegan Rising. And then, of course, you can learn more about my community, Raw Vegan Heroes, and join in the fun and the community on my website, rawveganrising.com, under the membership tab, and Jillian will link it below. So thank you, Jillian.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. And maybe to end off, what's your favorite quote of all time? I didn't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't have one, it's okay.
Oh, I got lots. Actually, my clients always tell me, Shane, you have so many great quotes. You're filled with great quotes.
I love quotes.
Yeah.
I still love them.
All right, my favorite quote of all time. Rumi says, the wound is where the light enters us. And what that points to is the place where we were originally fragmented, where we went from pure innocence to heartbroken. That split of the purity of our soul to the fragmentation of being earthbound is where we have the seat of our greatest gifts and our greatest authority in life. And I teach this to people for very high level abundance and mindset training and consciousness, is if we can harness the power of our heartbreak and our original wounding and our original betrayal, that is where our true wisdom comes from. That's where our authority comes from. We don't need a degree. We don't need a certification. We don't need an institution to validate us. We don't need society to tell us who we are. We need to connect with the original wound. The wound is where the light enters us. And that's where we have access to the highest divine aspect of our consciousness and all of our, the method that we're here to do, the purpose that we're here to facilitate, our highest level of service work to change the planet, to help humanity comes through the wounding. And I teach people how to do this, how to actually create a business or a coaching business. I specifically teach coaching business to people and how to come from that wounding and speak from that place. If you do that, it opens the floodgates of abundance. Abundance comes through that level of authority. So no one
I
else
love
can
that.
give you any authority. No institution, no person, your mom, a government agency, a school cannot give you authority. Only you can give yourself authority, and it comes through the original wounding where your heart was broken.
Wow.
That's your power. That's your
So
magic.
maybe those bad things aren't so bad after all then, right?
Right? I know.
Hmm.
Well, it's not. We have to harness it, though. We have to look, and it's shadow work because we've repressed the pain and we subconsciously hide it from our conscious mind because we don't want to relive it. But what happens is that the subconscious brings it into the conscious without us knowing. And that's where we get repeating trauma patterns, the
Mm.
bad relationship that repeats. Everybody knows what bad patterns repeat in your life that you can't seem to put your finger on. You can't seem to escape. Why does this always happen to me? I'm still broke. I always have the bad relationship. I can't get ahead. That is the wound, wanting to be acknowledged, integrated, made into your power. It's the seat of your power. This is what I
Mhm.
teach. This is my method, and this is my highest level of service that I provide for people. These teachings and awareness. And it's really shadow integration is what I call it.
I love that. Okay, amazing. Well said. Like always, this has been amazing. So thanks for coming back on. And everybody, be sure to follow this channel. Shane's a regular, and we have so many amazing interviews all the time. And go follow Shane. I'll link his channel below, his coaching, his group, everything. And I hope you guys got some value from this. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.